Hey folks, imagine this. This woman was judged for being ugly, but after suffering an accident, she comes back to life as a seductive spirit because she used to be ugly but now she's stunningly beautiful. And that's the movie Tamara from 2005. And if you're not attractive either, come with me because I'm not either. Let's recap. It all starts when someone is performing a ritual, and from that point, we already know what's going to happen. Later on, we see a young girl approaching the literature professor and offering a book, but what she really wants is something else. The catch is that everyone was peeking through the door, and when she realizes that, it turns out to be just a dream or nightmare, because in reality, she was sleeping in the classroom. The popular kids start making fun of her because Tamara carried a book about witchcraft that she got from her mother. However, Professor Jacob always stood up for her because she was his best student. As she's leaving, the professor calls her back because she wrote an excellent newspaper article. But now, everyone's against her because she exposed that students were using steroids to win the season's games. Many got caught in the urine test, and even the cheerleaders were against her. Luckily, her friend Allison always showed up at the right moment to protect her, probably because she didn't do anything wrong. Walking through the hallways, those bullies go after her, and she rushes into Jacob's room. He reassures her that everything will be okay because she did an outstanding job. She starts saying that she couldn't fit into any group because she's ugly. And folks, if she's ugly, I must be in a state of decay because I was born humiliated. It's either you're funny or handsome, and in my case, I was just born. Tamara starts feeling good with the professor, but what she didn't expect was that Kisha, the cheerleader captain, was watching. Tamara tries to approach him, but he clarifies that it's not what he wanted. Then those bullies are waiting, and they tell her that she'll pay for everything she did. Now they've been suspended until the end of the year. She goes back home feeling sad, and her house looks like a junkyard because her father fixes electronics. Kisha meets up with the popular kids and they start devising a plan to mess with her. She tells them that she saw Tamara trying to make out with Jacob, but the issue is that he's married to the principal. She also drops the bombshell that she's pregnant. So, if things were tough before, they're now nearly impossible. Troy initiates his plan and sees one of the nerds passing by. He suggests that it would be a good idea for him to join the party they're planning. However, he knows that something's off because he's never invited to such events. He seizes the opportunity to invite Allison as well, and due to his animosity towards her, he decides to attend. But we all know that parties among young folks usually end up badly. Meanwhile, Tamara is at home feeling sad, and her father tells her that he's been trying to be the best dad he can be. But he's sad because her mother went out to buy cigarettes and never came back. Before leaving, though, she left behind some old books about witchcraft. This prompts Tamara to become willing to do whatever it takes to get what she wants, leading her to begin a ritual. She manages to acquire a handkerchief belonging to the professor, which would be sufficient for the magic. However, in the end, she lacks the courage because she knows it's wrong. During the ritual, she offers her soul and heart in exchange for everything she desires, but she still needs blood, so she goes to sleep. The next day, she receives a call from Jacob, saying he's missed her and wants to meet at a hotel outside the city. Excited, she thinks her plan worked, even though she hasn't completed the ritual. Unbeknownst to her, it's the bullies who are taunting her. They've rented 2 rooms at that hotel and set up one for her, making her think she'll succeed. However, everything is being recorded, and in the adjacent room, they're having a private party, planning to expose her to everyone. Before leaving, Tamara takes a page from the ritual book and arrives at the hotel wearing her best outfit. As she enters the room, the guy tells her to be prepared for him to come in boldly, but it's actually Troy who emerges from the bathroom and starts filming. The video shows that she was willing to destroy Jacob's family. She becomes desperate and tries to escape, but she realizes that Allison is there. It turns out that the whole setup was meant to isolate her. In her anger, she slips, hits the table edge, and tragically dies. Everyone becomes frantic, and Troy says he didn't want to get arrested, especially since he's not to blame, it was just a prank. Allison suggests calling the police and confessing what happened, but he counters that he has the recording, and she would also end up in trouble. The issue is that everyone begins to vote to cover up the body, as it would spell the end of their lives. This is why I say these youngsters have no limits. So, leave a like if you haven't already, and subscribe if you're new, because you might be ugly, but you can become handsome. Now, let's continue. Allison realizes there's little choice, and they head into the middle of the forest to bury the body. But when they look again, she has vanished from the hole. Suddenly, she appears, bloodshot eyes, and begins attacking everyone. Allison realizes it's a nightmare, but she's left with marks, so she doesn't know what's real. Back at school, everyone is tense, as nobody can say anything. But here comes the plot twist. Tamara appears, completely transformed. If she was ugly before, now she's stunningly beautiful. Everyone starts looking at her differently, simultaneously afraid. At the end of the class, she starts gazing differently at Jacob, and he becomes entranced. They start planning what to do, as Tamara could potentially expose everything. They think she must be a witch to have survived. Now, the terror begins. Bill, the nerd who didn't even want to be at the party, is working at the school radio when Tamara appears. She asks him why he didn't choose to do the right thing and begins speaking about how she felt buried alive. He starts choking on dirt, and worms emerge from his arm. She tells him he needs redemption and has him broadcast a confession to the whole school. He starts cutting off his ear and tongue. Jacob rushes to save him, raising the question, is there only one teacher in this place? Budget cuts, perhaps? Outside, they discuss why he did it, and Tamara arrives, warning them to be afraid, as she's now different. Allison begins recounting the events of that night, but Tamara refuses to accept their apologies, as they will all pay. They return to where she was buried to make sure, and Allison starts seeing strange things. In the dirt is the page with the magic ritual Tamara performed. They realized they could use it to undo the magic. However, they hadn't accounted for the fact that Tamara's consciousness had transcended human limits, and she was already at Jacob's house, struggling with the subject matter and in need of private tutoring. Jacob begins to feel seduced, but he manages to resist at the last second, confessing his love for his wife. Tamara leaves, but asserts that she always gets what she wants. The next day, she goes to talk to the principal, claiming to feel better. She expresses her strong feelings for Jacob and subtly hints that, due to her youth, she can give men what they desire. Before leaving, she cryptically mentions the challenges of having a child, hinting at her pregnancy loss due to her age. The entire school receives an invitation to a big party, and as young people, they can't resist attending. When Tamara arrives home, she discovers that her father isn't as innocent as she thought. Because she looks so much like her mother, he has inappropriate thoughts about her, and she punishes him by making him eat a glass bottle to teach him a lesson. At the party, everyone is having a good time, and Tamara appears in a red dress, luring the bullies who mocked her and inviting them to a room. Just when things seem too good to be true, she hypnotizes them and makes them engage in intimate activities. When Kisha shows up, she realizes something is wrong, and Tamara sets her sights on manipulating her as well. Tamara reveals Kisha's struggle with bulimia and forces her to overeat, making her pay for her sins. Allison realizes that things have gone too far and seeks help from Jacob. Reluctantly, he agrees to accompany her, but he's skeptical about Tamara being a witch. They decide to visit Tamara's father, only to find him deceased. While searching the house, they come across an ancient magic book, realizing that Tamara had been conducting dark rituals. Meanwhile, Jacob's wife is at home alone with Tamara, and it becomes apparent that Tamara manipulated both young men to cause her death. A frantic chase ensues, and by the time the police arrive, both young men are already dead. Jacob rushes to the hospital, relieved to find his wife in stable condition. However, a strange sound pierces the air. Tamara is drawing near. Urgently, they decide to flee as Tamara's manipulation takes hold, compelling others to serve her dark agenda. Kisha, brimming with nervous energy, confronts them, but they narrowly escape her grasp. Tragically, Allison's boyfriend sustains a fatal stab wound during the melee. Amidst the chaos, fueled by an intense fury, Allison launches a desperate attack against Tamara with an axe. Yet, her efforts prove futile against Tamara's supernatural power. As the situation becomes dire, Jacob recognizes this may be their final opportunity. He implores Tamara to reconnect with her true self, and in a moment of clarity, Tamara's malevolent influence recedes. Seizing a risky chance, Jacob makes a selfless decision. He leaps from the building, sacrificing himself to save the others. With Tamara temporarily subdued, they manage to escape the imminent threat. As the dust settles, the true heroism of Jacob shines through. If you aspire to be a hero in real life, consider leaving a like and subscribing with notifications enabled. More gripping content is on the horizon.
I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's home to me, and I